Today I took a train to Hillview MRT station and I came out at the exit that leads to Dairy Farm Road. So now I'm quite near to Dairy Farm Nature Park. It says the park opening hours 7 AM to 7 PM. And beside that there are rules you have to follow, the park etiquette. Now this place called the Wallace Trail is named after Alfred Russel Wallace, the one who started the evolution theory by natural selection. Now this is a very nice place, the Wallace Trail, and this is just beside the Salvation Army building. Now the Wallace Trail follows the footsteps of Alfred Russel Wallace, a British explorer who made many significant studies of biodiversity on our island. Now at the age of 39, he came to Singapore in 1862, just before he returned to Britain. Alright, and he left behind a photograph that is used by parks today. So I'm here on a Wednesday afternoon. It's about noon. The weather outside is hot, but once I enter the jungle, it's quite cooling inside. I continue my walk along this small little path and I came to a building called the Ministry of Education Dairy Farm Outdoor Adventure Learning Center. So this small building is owned by the Ministry of Education. It's located at Dairy Farm Road, number 30 Dairy Farm Road. So I'm now at the entrance of the Wallace Trail. Another signboard saying the Wallace Trail. You can see a picture of Alfred Russel Wallace. He was a self-taught naturalist and he went to school for only 8 years. He was not trained to be a naturalist, but he enjoyed taking long walks during the weekends to observe the flora and fauna. Now, during his journeys in the Malay archipelago, he made many interesting scientific observations on plants, insects, animals, and even culture. Now it's noon on a Wednesday afternoon, and at this hour the weather is hot outside, but inside the forest is quite cooling. I don't see any cyclists, there are no joggers, so I'm left all alone here because at this time nobody wants to visit the nature parks. Now this place is full of trees, flowers, jungles, and I'm just next to the Salvation Army building, and behind it is the Trinity Theological College, which belongs to the Methodist Church. So this is a road that leads up to the Singapore Quarry, and it's a very interesting place with a lot of monkeys, squirrels, snakes, monitor lizards, birds, and so on. It's very quiet at noon time, only the chirping of birds on the trees. Now the Singapore Quarry is about 1 kilometer from here, and there are signboards here that says trees and branches may fall, take care. So if there's a rainstorm, you have to be careful because the branches may drop and hit your head at any time. So this is a very quiet place. I could see the monitor lizard in front, squirrels. Now as someone who is adventurous, I like to go to those far away, God-forsaken places that nobody wants to visit. So possibly I visited about 90% of the cemeteries in Singapore, including the old Bidadari Cemetery, which is now converted into an HDB estate. Now I've also visited the Bukit Brown Cemetery recently, where the tombs are all more than 100 years old. Now here the trees are very tall and straight, all fighting for sunlight to survive. And in the distance I could hear the sound of aeroplanes flying past. I continue my walk along this stretch of road that leads to the quarry. I continue my walk. The trees are all straight and tall, all fighting for sunlight. Some of the trees here are very old, 50 to 100 years old. And on my right I could see some condos. I continue my walk towards the Singapore Quarry. On my left is a forest with a trail. I could hear the sound of wild chickens, birds. But all around me is rather quiet. In front I came across a crowd of monkeys, possibly whole generations of them, grandparents, parents, children. Many monkeys, at least 20 of them. Now since there are no people around, they came to the road here to play, to frolic in the sun. So no one disturbs them except the chickens crowing about in the forest. Now the monkeys gather here to socialize, to groom each other. And as long as I don't disturb them, they will not disturb me. You can see so many monkeys, the long-tailed macaques, alright, all playing by the roadside. Since there are no cars, no traffic, they dare to venture to the road here. Alright, they help each other remove insects from the bodies. And since I don't bring any plastic bag, I don't have to fear them snatching away food from my plastic bags. They look rather tame, so long as you don't feed them, they learn to survive in the jungle. They can eat the fruits, the tomatoes, durians, and so on. And monkeys are very intelligent animals. If they find a nut with a hard shell, they'll probably take a stone to crack the nut and eat the fruit inside. There are few monkeys straying around here looking for food. So humans are advised not to feed these monkeys because once you feed them, they lose all their natural instinct to hunt for food. So a quiet afternoon to take a walk here at Dairy Farm Nature Park, following the Wallace trail. And I came next to a fallen branch with some brown fungus. You can see these mushrooms here, brown in color, very interesting. And next to it I have a drain that takes away the rainwater. Now in the front I could see a tall tree with crimson flowers, the African tulip, known as the Spetodia campanulata. And on the left I could see some purple blue flowers, creepers growing on the side. So this is a place that nobody comes at this time of the day. On my right I could see some houses, the Fuyong estate. The signboard here says Dairy Farm Nature Park. The park is open from 7 AM to 7 PM. And it says please be responsible for your own safety. Another 600 meters and I'll come to the Singapore Quarry. At the side I could see some huge fallen tree trunks, very big tree trunks. And beautiful flowers here, the Costas family. And on the tree trunk you can see some brown mushroom growing wild. I suppose these are poisonous mushrooms, not to be eaten. Alright, it's a very quiet place except for the birds on the trees making some noise. These are the flowers that has dropped from the flowers that have dropped from the tree on top. This is the African tulip flower. Very nice, very red and beautiful. So I continue my walk towards the quarry. Alright, nothing wonderful, but I could hear the sound of insects, a lot of cicadas, a lot of birds. And this part I don't see any monkeys around. On the way I met one or two photographers. They came with their cameras, zoom lenses, very long zoom lenses, and they came here to observe the birds. These are bird enthusiasts and they love shooting pictures of birds. We now come to the entrance of the Singapore Quarry. This was an old granite quarry, but now the hole in the ground is still water and becomes a lake. The Bt Nature Park. The signboard here says "Welcome to Singapore Quarry." Alright, you can see the water, the cliffs overlooking the lake. This was an old disused granite quarry. You can see a young lady in front exercising, an old man resting in a rain shelter. It's a very beautiful place. The cliffs are very high, at least 300 meters. The lake is filled with water. The color, the scenery is beautiful. Very, very beautiful. Now the lake is filled with water and there are some aquatic plants growing in the lake. Now you can see the cliffs, the trees, the forest, and these trees are very tall and huge, possibly at least 100 years old. I'm down at the Singapore Quarry. Behind me is the lake with a cliff, very prominent. And since it's noon time, nobody comes here. Possibly the visitors come early in the morning or late in the evening. So at noon time there are very, very few visitors around here. And the notice here says, for your own safety and that of others, no motorized vehicles, skates and skateboards are allowed in the park. It's our responsibility to conserve the living things in our park, both for your enjoyment and that of our future generations. Right on my right, I could hear the rumbling of water. The water that flows in a small river. It goes right through the jungle. And this part, the path is a bit uneven. I'm going to the jungle path. It says no pets allowed, no hiking on mountain bike trail. And there's a warning that says this trail is for mountain biking only, for the safety of bikers and hikers, no hiking on the bike trail. It's very quiet in the jungle at this time of the day. At noon time there are nobody around. And this place can be very muddy on a rainy day. It says Bt Timah Mountain Bike Trail. So I continue my walk along the mountain bike trail. I keep to one side so as not to pose an obstacle to the cyclists. Now you can see a lot of fallen tree trunks. Some are rotting away. You know, when a tree falls during a rainstorm, slowly and steadily the bacteria will come in and the tree will slowly decay. And on my left is an old quarry. It says warning, state land, no trespassing and rock climbing. Now the trees are very big, huge trunks. If you go across the trunk, the circumference may be 3 or 4 meters. So this is a quiet trail with only few bikers around. So I keep to one side of the road so as not to impede the progress of the bikers. Alright, this track is quite wide, so it has enough space for joggers, pedestrians and even bikers. Alright, we respect the rights of the bikers, so we keep to one side. As you can see, after the rain, there are puddles of water on the dirt track. So it's not a good place to come on a rainy day. Well, it's a very quiet place and not safe for young ladies to come alone. It's best to come as a group. I continue my walk along the path that is covered with stones, and part of the path is just bare earth. There are no stones. And here I could see an old abandoned tire, a tall tree. And it's very quiet. So unless you want your safety, do not come here alone. Notice says caution, trails contain extreme jumps, drops and obstacles. Use of this trail for other purposes is not permitted. So a lot of fallen tree trunks by the side, and slowly they'll decay, and very soon they return to the earth. From dust thou art, and to dust thou shalt return. So when a man dies, his body will be buried in the ground, and slowly the body will return to the earth, because man's body was created by God, and when a man dies, the body will decay and returns to the earth. I could hear the sound of aeroplanes flying overhead, and I choose to come at noon time because at this hour there are very few cyclists, and my presence here will not be an obstacle to their progress on the track. Whereas if you come here at 9 AM, you may meet a lot of cyclists. So I respect the rights of the cyclists, so I come at an hour when there are very few cyclists around. Now the rain has caused some soil erosion, so part of the earth has been eroded. As you can see here, there are puddles of water, muddy water on the road. So the dirt track is full of puddles of water if you come here after the rain. So it's advisable not to pay a visit after a rainstorm because the paths here may be slippery, wet and muddy. So the best is to come here on a dry day when everything is dry and you don't feel that the path is slippery. So here I come to another tall tree with a lot of red flowers at the bottom. These flowers drop from the tree above. This is the African tulip that grows very freely in the nature reserve. Right, the notice is no hiking or mountain bike trail. So I'm keeping to one side of the trail so as not to be an obstacle to the cyclists who are cycling on this mountain bike trail. I have to respect the rights of the cyclists because this is not meant for hiking. So I keep to one side and I give way to them. I could see a brown squirrel scurrying across the path, and there's some noise in the traffic as I'm quite near to the Bt Timah side. Now the trees here are very huge and very tall, all fighting for the sunlight. You can see the African tulip flower, bright red in color. It's a very beautiful flower. So along the track you can see a lot of these flowers that drop from the tree. This is a dirt track and I continue my journey towards Bt Timah Hill. Now the path is quite winding. It winds right and left, straight, to the right, to the left. And again I see another puddle of water in front. Right, this was quite slippery and there's a puddle because of the rain. So up the slope I go and continue my journey. Now this is a biking trail, so I keep to one side of the road, and when I see a cyclist coming, I usually keep to the side to make way for them. I always respected the rights of cyclists. So even though I give way to them, some of the lady cyclists, they scolded me for being on this track. I already said sorry to them that I'm not supposed to be here, but I keep to one side, and yet they chose to scold me like nobody's business. However, I take it in a good spirit. They may be good in scolding, but I take it in the right spirit. Some fallen tree trunks here. You can see the brown fungus. All these grow on the fallen tree trunk, and slowly the trunk will decay and go back to the earth. So from dust it was, into dust it shall return. Right, this track is very narrow, meant only for cyclists. One side you can see the rope fencing. I always keep to one side and give way to the cyclists, because this is a cycling track and I respect the rights of cyclists to be here. However, though I stay to one side, I get some scolding from the cyclists because they say that I'm not supposed to be on this track. However, being a peaceful person, I do not want to quarrel with anyone. I take it in a good spirit. I always respect their rights and continue my journey. So even though they scolded me many times, I keep to one side of the road, respect their rights, and keep to myself. I don't mean to be an obstacle or hindrance to the cyclists. I always respect their rights, but there's no need to scold me like as if I'm an idiot. And now come to the part where there are many condos around, and since I'm near to civilization, I could hear the noise of cars and vehicles rumbling in the distance. A very narrow bridge. The wooden railings are collapsing. I hope NParks will do something to repair the railings. And this bridge runs over a small stream. The water is very clear, so I suppose the birds and monkeys come here for their drink. And in front I could see the huge fallen tree trunks. So here lightning is quite common, and when lightning strikes a tree, after some time it will drop and fall to the ground and then slowly rots away. Now this path is sandy, up and down, so a lot of slopes. But I always keep to one side as I respect the rights of the cyclists to be here. I don't mean to be trespassing. I respect their rights, and when I see a cyclist, I keep to one side. I came across a few Angmo cyclists. They're more gracious. I kept to one side, and I said sorry to them, and they said never mind, carry on, enjoy your walk. So these Angmos are more gracious, more forgiving, whereas the Chinese ladies, they scolded me as if I'm an idiot. In front of me there's a block of condos. All the windows are locked. I suppose they fear the entry of snakes, monkeys, because the monkeys can be very destructive. They go into the houses, the condos, to steal bananas, watches and so on. So it's safer to keep the windows closed. There's a condo at the edge of the forest, a very low fencing. And when man encroaches on the nature reserves, the monkeys are not very happy, so sometimes the monkeys can climb over the fence through the window and cause havoc in the kitchen because man has invaded the space of monkeys. So it's best not to build any condos or houses near the forest reserve. I do not understand why the government allows condos to be built so close to the jungle, and this will cause conflict between man and animals. Another part of the nature reserve, you can see all the fallen tree trunks, the dirt track, and this track is very muddy after the rain. I'm now at the end of the biking trail near the entrance of Bt Timah Hill. I see a few cyclists coming, so I avoided them. I stood to one side and let them pass. I'm now near the entrance to the Bt Timah Hill. I just left the forest, and here you can see some condos on the right, on the left. This place is called Heat Drive, and the condos are very beautiful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stories.